everyone, Kareem Ray here. Today we have Doug Erwin, who is the Vice Chairman and Chief Brand Officer of Greenville Triumph Soccer Club. Doug, how's it going today?
Going well. Naturally, my dog would start barking as soon as the podcast starts, but no, it's going well, Kareem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, it's very exciting. I'm very excited to have you on. But can you just take us a little bit back in time and share your career journey of how you became the vice chairman and CBO at Greenville Triumph Soccer Club?
Yeah, sure. I have a background kind of in marketing, branding, advertising. Um, since I graduated from college, I spent some time in Washington D.C. Really kind of fell in love with soccer around that time. That was around the 2010 World Cup, and getting to watch all that, and that was kind of really the first World Cup that I was totally engrossed in at 22 years old, and then went to a couple DC United games. That was the first real pro soccer I had ever been to. Moved back to South Carolina, where I was born and raised, in Greenville, in 2012, and was in marketing and advertising for a number of years, including some working with the baseball team in town on some kind of sports marketing. That was my first real exposure to sports marketing. And then in late 2017, I guess, early 2018, we heard that the United Soccer League was looking at Greenville for a potential USL League One team, as they were getting ready to launch what was then called USL D3, and they were looking for ownership groups, and so they had come to my dad about being a potential investor owner, and my dad and I really felt like this was something that we really needed in Greenville, South Carolina, in our region. And after about 6 months of looking at the business side and the potential and how we were going to make this work, we decided to acquire the franchise rights, and we announced in early 2018. And we took our background in marketing and advertising and combined it with hiring Chris Lewis, who was somebody who was already operating as the president of a sports team in Greenville, and he had the experience of running a sports team day to day. And we hired Chris for that day to day sports management experience, and then we were off and running. Had about a year from the announcement before we played our first game.
Nice. So what was it about USL One that was very attractive to you and your dad to make the decision to pursue the opportunity to acquire a professional soccer team?
Yeah, I think it was the proven track record of success that the USL had. Being around in some form or fashion for a couple decades, and then we'd seen the growth of the championship and the heights that they had risen to, especially in the last 5 years leading up to when we talked to them. That got our attention, and I think they were clear about what they wanted, the market sizes they were looking at, how passionate they were about bringing true professional soccer to communities of our size. We'd had a couple semi-pro teams come through in the upstate over the years before that, and some kind of lower level amateur teams as well. And we knew that there was an appetite for that, but we knew it was going to take the right opportunity, the right league, a strong league office, a business model that could show some success down the road and a path to profitability, certainly. And I think we heard some of the other markets they were looking at, some of the ones they had announced or were close to announcing, and we felt like they were the ones to make the move with, and we're very happy we did. They've continued to grow at a great rate, and we've seen the growth of League One continue to be on the up and up. So I think that's where it started, and I think there was a good comfortability there, and we were excited. That one of the things that they were keen on and are still keen on as they're trying to expand the league is regional rivalries. And from a business model standpoint, the more bus trips and less plane trips, the better. So we're excited to see that continue to grow, and it was fun to to come into the league as the second team announced, along with Torment FC and Statesboro, only a couple hours away, and to be able to build on that with teams in Chattanooga and Charlotte, and getting some other new teams coming on that are a couple hours away in Knoxville and Lexington. I think the prospect of that was a big thing for us as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. When I spoke to Matt Retta from the league, he mentioned that there's so much juice and orange to squeeze out in the United States market. So it's very exciting. With saying that, how long did it take for you guys to make a decision whether you guys were going to join the league or not join the league?
Yeah, it was probably 5 or 6 months, and that was, it was having a lot of conversations with not just people at the league, because they were great at getting us information, and giving out the pro formas, and showing showing a business model for us. But we talked to um, we talked to a lot of other people in market, in terms of trying to gauge some potential sponsor interest. We talked to a lot of other people at other sports teams, which would, and not just soccer teams. Across all levels. I think we were trying to get information from other people who had been in the space and that had helped grow the sport at some of the lower levels. I know Chris Lewis and I went on a kind of a mini tour of 4 or 5 places, different levels, some USL, some Major League Soccer. We spent a lot of time with Atlanta United, who's been a fantastic success story, on and off the field. Spent time with Darren Eales, who's now back in the EPL. But I think we were looking for the kind of proof of concept, and again, Atlanta United and Greenville Triumph are on a different level, but some of the approach that organizations like Atlanta had were ones that we wanted to replicate on a level, more appropriate there. So that process was a lot of it, and then I think we thought, okay, we'll get done with this process, and we'll have all this information in front of us, and we'll be 100% like, yes, let's do it. This is all good. But even at the end of the process, it's still a huge leap of faith. When we announced the team, we didn't have a coach, we didn't have players, we didn't have a front office outside of Chris and myself. We didn't have a place to play. So we announced the team in mid March of 2018, and we know we're going to have games in late March of 2019. So there was, even though we felt comfortable enough to say yes, we knew we had a ton of stuff to figure out before we ever kicked the ball.
That's really interesting. I think it was probably pretty fun for you guys to pull all those pieces together pretty quickly after announcing the team. But I would assume once you guys made that announcement out to the universe that um, everything came towards you guys and towards opportunities, coaches, scouts, players, all the pieces just came into play. I'm assuming. Is that right?
Yeah, you get a lot of that coming out of the woodwork. I think we, around the time we announced, a little bit before, one of the things that made us confident in our decision was, seeing that there had been a petition that had over 1,000 signatures of people wanting to bring pro soccer to the upstate. That was one of the things that got the USL's attention about Greenville specifically. And after the announcement, yeah, you get a lot of those people coming out, the pent up demand of that, the season ticket deposits, with phones ringing off the hook the first couple of days, people wanting to put down deposits on season tickets. Lots of businesses that wanted to take a leap of faith with us too, where they had connections to the soccer community, or the fans of soccer, and they wanted to be sponsors, and people around town that wanted to work with us to help get things up. That kind of support early on was especially humbling, because we hadn't proven anything yet. I think we brought some credibility having Chris on board as president. My dad's decades in the Greenville business community. He brings credibility that I think gets people's attention. But there was still a lot to prove. And then after that, we had to figure out a brand, because when we launched, we didn't have a team name or anything like that. We were just Greenville Pro Soccer, and we had to get a coach and wanted to bring credibility with that. But I think that initial reaction and excitement from fans and the business community was very validating.
Nice. Did you guys put together the campaign in regards to how many people wanted to bring professional soccer to Greensville?
We We did not put together the campaign. It was an independent campaign that existed before us, and I think again that was, you look for the true grassroots nature of this. Someone has to come in and get the franchise and and pay for it and all that, but it was something that we felt was, given the growth that Greenville has had, and really the surrounding area outside of Greenville too, across the upstate. We knew it was a dynamic market that the growth would suit. Bringing other sports teams, specifically soccer, that's skewing towards young, affluent people. That lines up with the growth of Greenville. But seeing that fan support, and again knowing that whether the Erwin family is the one to do it or not, there's an appetite for pro soccer, and that's going to be here. That was here before us. It'll be here after us, and being able to do that, because I think that there's such a difference when that early support is genuine. There's a fine line you have to walk with supporter culture, and you want to have a good relationship with fans and supporters, but it can't be all the team forcing stuff down fans' throat. And I think that's what I was so excited about was, hey, here's this kind of built-in supporter group fan base that they're here and they're going to support us because they're just excited to see pro soccer, and we're going to meet with them and forge a path with them. But they've got this group of people. They know how they want to run things. They know how they want to support a team. We don't have to try and force that, create it from scratch, and again shove it down their throat and make this stale, fabricated supporter culture. Excuse me. It's real. It's there. It's authentic. We've just got to give them the avenue. And I think that was a key too. Is again, it's just creating the opportunity. That's what we wanted to do. We don't want to come in and dictate everything. We want to create the opportunity for people to interact with the game in the upstate. If we can do that, that's great. We don't need to spell out every single thing of how we're going to do game day experience, what the chants are going to be, or anything like that. We just want to give people a platform, and I think we've been very successful at that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm a huge fan of the game. I love the game. Played the game. And it's amazing to be on this side to interview someone like yourself and other people across USL, coaches, scouts, agents, so on and so forth. With saying that, I want to dive into the structure. Were you a part of structuring the ownership and what type of entity that you guys were going to use, whether it was like an LLC, series LLC, to set everything up? Are you able to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a ton of earth-shattering stuff to mention. We incorporated as an LLC, Greenville Pro Soccer, and that was, again, not having a brand yet, but we're a for-profit company. We have that LLC. We have a separate LLC that relates to some stadium stuff, some venue things that we had done. In terms of how we built our stadium. But yeah, Greenville Pro Soccer LLC, we're it. And we one of the things we wanted to make sure we left room to do, and we're not quite to the finish line with it yet, but is to have some charitable component. And so we do have a nonprofit entity that we're building, that's going to be the Greenville Triumph and Liberty Foundation, or we don't know what we're going to call it yet. But we've already been doing some really a lot of charity work throughout the first 4.5 years of the franchise, but we are looking to expand that and start a true foundation across the next year or two. So we will have a 501c3 that'll have that involved. But it was incorporating as a business and joining the Chamber of Commerce and following all the steps you would if we were an insurance company or anything else, to get incorporated. And then the brand of Triumph would come later on and get trademarked and all that.
Nice. So you got to see this from like the ground up to where it is now. Going in, did you guys get all the, the city involved? Like, how did you guys go about getting the city involved? Did you guys already have those connections, the politicians, so on and so forth? How did you guys go about creating those relationships, or if you guys already have those relationships?
Yeah, we had a lot of relationships with local business leaders, local politicians. Again, just from my parents' work in the community, being business leaders in the community for a number of decades, and so I think there was already a natural kind of working relationship there, and being able to tap into contacts when you need something, that was definitely helpful because again we had to pull together a stadium solution, and knowing that the stadium solution is not going to be the forever home, but we needed a place to play in a year and had to get creative with that. It was important to have those relationships for sure, and there's no way you can fake those relationships. They're just a general, genuine, authentic relationships that have built over really 30 years of business for my mom and dad, and myself a little bit at the end there. But just knowing people and having the integrity coming back to hiring Chris and people that have the connections and do things the right way and are respected, and when you come to them, know that there's no ulterior motive. We're just trying to work with you guys on a solution that's best for everyone, and I think it's important to specifically to have a relationship with your chamber of commerce or your convention and visitors bureau, because the sports teams are a thing that attracts people from near and far. There is tourism. It's on a smaller level, but there's tourism that comes with it, and there's tax dollars, entertainment dollars that flow in because of a sports team. So we wanted to make sure that the chamber and the CVB were on board with what we were doing, so they could help lift us up, because what we're doing, is we're trying to represent Greenville and upstate South Carolina on a national and in some cases international stage. I think back to the little things that we do, like when all our games are on ESPN Plus, and I made sure that when our games go in and out of break on ESPN Plus, that I've got drone footage of downtown from the city that is showing the best of what Greenville has to offer. Because hopefully somebody might be watching that game in another market and say, hey, that looks like a great place to be. I want to come there for an away game next year.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm curious to know, how many other USL clubs are doing that. I'm not. This is the first time I'm hearing about that, so that's really cool.
It's
Um,
I would encourage everybody to do it. It's an easy call to somebody at City Hall and say, "Hey, can I use your B-roll footage at the city that you would show on a NCAA event or something?" It's a great touch.
Absolutely. I'm not too sure if you mentioned your dad's name and what he did. I think you mentioned what the industry that he was in, but can you just repeat it again, please?
Yeah, my parents in the late '80s started an advertising and marketing agency called Erwin Penland. It grew at its peak to about 400 people, split between Greenville and New York City. Briefly had a small office in Detroit as well, and became one of the fastest growing and largest advertising agencies in the Southeast. And at the peak of it, and they sold to a company out of Boston in the mid 2000s, and my mom retired shortly after that, and my dad continued on for about 8 or 9 years after the acquisition. Again, that just doing a lot of work. We were doing national work, but local work too, and charity was very important. Being involved in doing pro bono work for the local United Way, the YMCA, you name it. That was always a big component of the philosophy of the agency, and I think that again, seeing large businesses invest, not just money but time and effort back locally. I think it would have been really easy as the agency was growing to say we're going to go to only national clients, and we don't have time for pro bono work, but they didn't. They, made sure to do things locally and worked a lot with the baseball team, worked a lot with those charities to continue to make positive change in Greenville and the upstate. And I think that giving back is something that certainly was instilled in me and anybody who worked at Erwin Penland, it's the same philosophy we approach the soccer team with.
Yeah, got it. I'm really interested to know. I think I've asked this before, but I just want full clarity. Um, Everyone that's a part of the USL One or USL Championship, do you guys, if you're able to share this, do you guys um like have calls like every quarter or anything like that, like Zoom calls or anything like that, and all share ideas and stuff, like things along those lines?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kareem, and I think that's one of the things that makes the USL great is they offer up a lot of those forums to network with other teams and to share ideas. It's always such an interesting business model in sports because you compete with the other teams in your league on the field, but off the field you're helping one another. You're trading ideas, and you're sharing your success stories. And when somebody has something that's done well, the USL is great about harnessing that and distributing that info to other teams so that we can replicate or put a spin in Greenville on something, because we know that the health of the league is a direct reflection of the health of the teams. So if we can pass things along to other teams and get that info, we're all going to be better for it, and it's going to increase the value of the teams to the community. It's going to increase the value of the teams to the league. It's going to increase the value of the league, and on and on and on. So, yeah, it's COVID kind of hampered that a little bit, but we have mid-year meetings and winter meetings, and beyond that, we have in a lot of the specific departments, we have monthly calls where teams can share ideas, bounce ideas off one another, and again, that goes back to one of the many reasons we felt good about the league and what they were offering. The strong league office is important to sustainability, and in a lot of the other both professional and semi-professional amateur leagues across the country, you look at the turnover year to year of teams, and it's enormously high of teams folding and expanding and moving and stuff. And there was much more staying power we felt in the USL, and things like that sharing of ideas and that camaraderie are an important reason that they're able to do that at such a great level.
Got it. So I'm interested to know about, how you guys went about building the stadium. Is it a pop-up stadium, or how did you guys go about that?
Yeah, I guess technically it is a pop-up stadium. For us, it was we were looking around town, and we didn't have a ton of options. There were lots of places that were suggested to us. I would say we probably looked at 10 or 12 different venues, and you can't just look at the stadium itself. You have to look at access, parking, ability to do concessions, etc. And for for what we were looking for, it was just hard because a lot of the things suggested to us were high school football stadiums, and as you know, like most of them are not wide enough, and not just a lot of them we ran into. It wasn't just that the field wasn't wide enough, because in some cases you can make a more narrow field work, but it was okay. Well, we can get the soccer field in there, but then it's 6 inches to a concrete wall. So how are you going to do a throw in? Where are you going to put the benches? So we were looking and looking, and found a great turf soccer field at Legacy Early College, which is a charter elementary, middle, and high school in Greenville, on a campus of what was the first high school in Greenville County. And they used to have a football field there, and they turned it into a soccer only turf field, and it was a great field, great turf, and more importantly, it had decent parking. It was close to downtown, to our main street area, and it had space around the field where we could bring in seats. So back to what you were saying about, is it a pop-up stadium? Okay, so great. We have the field. We got locker rooms. Again, it's not all to the ultimate standards of what we need in a forever home. The locker rooms are tiny and don't work. The fan access is hard, etc. But it was plenty great for what we needed, and Legacy's a school with a great mission, and something that we had been involved in before and wanted to get involved in again, and could find a partnership where we could do some really unique things and shine a light on Legacy in that neighborhood. So um, then the question was, okay, how many seats can we fit, and how are we going to do this? So we got connected to a company called Seating Solutions. Now they're called In Production. That is a nationwide company that does a lot of temporary sporting events. They do a lot of golf tournaments, tennis tournaments. They just did a Formula One race in Miami last year, or earlier this year, excuse me. And so we find this company, and oh man, we're blown away. This is the right solution. And come to find out that though the company is headquartered technically in New York, their office and their warehouse is 25 minutes outside downtown Greenville, of all the places in the country. So we're like, oh, this is too good to be true. So we got connected with them. We set on a number of 4,000 seats. We wanted to do more than 4,000, but we couldn't really fit more than 4,000, given the constraints of the roads around the field. So we did the best we could. And they brought, we settled again. We were due to kick at the end of March, and we didn't have this set until I think the start of December. So we were really up against it. But the beauty of the pop up stadium, I mean, they came and built the thing in a month and a half, maybe, if that, and some of that might have just been weather. So it's worked great for us, and you're able to pick the different seating options. So we had bleachers, we had plastic seats, we had the kind of pleathery seats, we had field level seats, and then standing room seats with the drink rail for the supporter section. So we were able, by there not being a stadium or seating already around the field, it allowed us to get more creative than we probably would have gotten at a lot of places.
Nice. Can you mention the company again?
Yeah, they're called In Production now.
Yeah.
They used to be called
Okay.
Seating Solutions,
Yeah.
but they were bought or merged, and they've been fantastic. And we've referred them on to some other teams, and they're getting a lot of uses around the country right now.
Yeah. No, I've had them on the podcast as well. It's pretty interesting what they
Yeah,
do. It's really cool.
yeah, for sure.
It's like Lego. You put it up, you take it
Yeah,
down. So, so this is not a home forever. When do you guys plan to build a new stadium?
we'd love to build one yesterday. It's something we've been working on, and frankly got delayed about a year and a half just because of COVID. We had really kind of started the ball moving seriously on conversations in 2020, which was our second season. After we kind of had that proof of concept of playing a year, and COVID pushed things back, and we got moving on it again last year, and we we found some interested parties, a developer and a kind of suburb of Greenville, and a great development that we were really interested in, and we made progress there. Presented an initial kind of proposal to the county. It was voted down at the time due to some just questions and some county politics that frankly didn't have much to do with us. It seemed, but we weren't deterred by the no vote. It was a roadblock, but we didn't stop working after that, and we kind of have been retooling some things and continuing to work, and we're hopefully going to bring something forward back to county council here when the new council is sat. I think they are seated about a month from now. So it's something we're continuing to work every day on. We have a lot of people that are big supporters of it, that are committed to it. If money grew on trees, if we were insanely rich, we'd build the thing ourselves. But we can't do that. And we don't want to be something that is just a stadium that sits there and we play some soccer games and it gets done. We want something that can be an asset to the community and used for a lot more than soccer. And we've got some partners in the project that feel strongly about that, about using it for more than just soccer, and frankly, using it for more than just sports and more than just music too. Um, so it's something we're still really excited about, and we, even though we had the setback with the vote last year, we think we're closer to it now than we were last year. Pending how things go when we get back in front of council. But I think it'd be our goal to start construction and be able to phase in construction and try and get in there in 2024 or 2025. We've seen a lot of other teams in the USL work in phased construction stadiums. Chattanooga's done it in League One, and they're building a great stadium. Statesboro just got in there. Tormenta got in there for a couple games and won a championship in their stadium. So we think there's great possibility. We think there's a great appetite for it. We're excited about the future of it, and hopefully the rest of this winter and early spring will hold some good news on the stadium front for us. Because I think we all know from the business side, that's when you really get the giant leap in terms of the business model and the sustainability of the team. You look at the path to profitability, and what you're able to do, in terms of being able to schedule your games, program the correct nights, to look at the Liberty, our women's team, which is currently a semi-pro team, and could we maybe take them professional down the road? Maybe if we're in a venue where we've got more control over availability, that's the first domino. But we know the thing to make this team sustainable, long lasting, and to keep the growth going is the stadium situation. So we're hard at work.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see that come to life in the near future. There's so many questions to ask. I want to be very respectful of your time. But I definitely do want to get this on the record as well. In 2018, you helped the club win multiple league awards in marketing and communication, and were recognized as one of Greenville Business Magazine's best and brightest 35 and under in 2022. I would ask some questions around this, but you know what, Doug, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time and talking about the beautiful game that we love. I also see the NFL or the football or baseball behind you.
We got a little college football. We got Ken Griffey, the GOAT. So yeah, we're at the home office today. We got about every sport in this room around the place, but my Clemson Tigers hold a special place in my heart. So there's a lot of Clemson stuff around the room, and we were the defending men's soccer national champions at Clemson there for a while, and didn't get it this season, but a strong soccer background too.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, I would love to have a part two if you're open to that. But if anything,
sure.
I'm gonna just close this off. And thank you for taking the time for joining us on the One Soccer Nation podcast.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.